Okay, the reading for this week is the next part in our series on Chinese civilization and culture and philosophy, and it's excerpts from an essay by the Ming Dynasty general, statesman, and writer and thinker and philosopher Wang Yangming, and it's his ideas on the unity of knowing and acting, this idea that he's most famous for. And once again, this work is taken from sources of Chinese tradition, and I'll put the link to that book in the description below, along with the link to this worksheet that was compiled, that was put together by somebody at Columbia University. Okay, so I will read the excerpts from the essay, and before I do that, I will read the introduction to Neo-Confucianism and to Wang Yangming. Okay, Neo-Confucianism, or Dao Shui in Chinese, Do Michi and Gaku. So in Japanese, we say Do Gaku. Neo-Confucianism, or Da Shui, is a general term used to refer to the renaissance of Confucianism that took place during the Song dynasty, following a long period in which Buddhism and Taoism had dominated the philosophical world of the Chinese, and also to the various philosophical schools of thought that developed as a result of that renaissance. Okay, so we have classical Confucianism, then we have Buddhism and Taoism appear on the scene and in some ways challenge classical Confucianism, and then we have this kind of fusion, or aufgehoben, if you will, that kind of fuses or incorporates elements of Buddhism and Taoism into Confucianism and recasts it in this new mode of thought called Dao Shui, or Neo-Confucianism. Again, it appears around in the Song dynasty in the 12th century. Well, it appears earlier than that, actually, as I explain in the next sentence. Neo-Confucianism had its roots in the late Tang dynasty, but it came to maturity in the northern and southern Song periods. So review the dates for the Song dynasty, and continued to develop in the Yuan, Ming, and Qing periods. As a whole, Dao Shui, or Neo-Confucianism, can best be understood as an intellectual reaction to the challenges of Buddhism and Taoism and Buddhist and Taoist philosophy, in which avowedly Confucian scholars incorporated Buddhist and Taoist concepts in order to produce a more sophisticated new Confucian metaphysics. Okay, so Confucianism, classical Confucianism, and then Taoism and Buddhism appear on the scene, and then this third stage in the sort of triadic movement is Neo-Confucianism. As Neo-Confucianism, or Dao Shui, developed, two trends of thought emerged out of the southern Song philosopher and official Zhou Xi's synthesis of the learning of principle and the learning of the mind and heart. So underline Zhou Xi. We've already read several of his essays, and he's, of course, the one who put together the 4 books, the Si Shu. Yes, the sort of one of the the most important founding figure of Neo-Confucianism, Zhou Xi. We'll review that again in class to make sure we understand it. Both trends agreed that all the myriad things of the universe are manifestations of a single principle, or Li, and that this principle, or Li, is the essence of morality. By understanding the principle that underlies the universe, just as Buddhists understood all things in the universe as manifestations of a single Buddhist spirit, then men may understand the moral principles that they must put into practice in order to achieve an ordered family, good government, and peace under heaven. The two trends of thought differed, however, on the way in which human beings are to understand Li, or principle. The thinking surrounding the learning of the heart, the mind and heart, is often identified with the Ming general and statesman Wang Yangming, born in 1472, died in 1529. Okay, so we're in the later part of the 15th century, early part of the 16th century with Wang Yangming. The Japanese reading, by the way, is O Yo Me, right? So in Japanese context, you often see him referred to as O Yo Me, or references to O Yo Me. Wang, or O in Japanese, argued that inasmuch as every living thing is a manifestation of Li, or principle, then one need not look outside oneself to understand principle, Li, and therefore morality. So one need only look into oneself. So there's this emphasis on interiority in Wang Yangming. One should consult one's own heart, or mind, Xing in Chinese, right? Wherein principle surely lay. So we have a Xing, inside of which is principle, and the sort of logos and ultimate truth of the universe is inside of us, according to Wang Yangming. So whereas there's a tendency in early classical Confucianism toward externality, so that Li and principles and ultimate truth and so forth kind of lie outside of the human in a lot of cases, or they might have the seeds within the human, but they need to be watered and cultivated through external means. So by contrast, Wang emphasizes that these truths exist from the beginning within the human mind, the human Xing. Since principle is the basis of human nature, or Xing, X-I-N-G, Xing. Since principle is the basis of human nature, then it follows that anyone who understands his or her true nature understands the principle of the universe. So if you understand yourself, you by extension understand the principle of the universe, the Li of the universe. In the short passage below, Shu Ai, a student of Wang Yangming, relates Wang's teaching regarding knowledge and action. Okay, so this is his famous idea that knowledge and action are identical, that there is no knowledge that doesn't lead to action, and there is no action or proper action that is not grounded in correct knowledge. Okay, so before I read the longer passage, the longer version of this excerpt, I will first read the study questions. Question number 1. Here, Wang Yangming teaches that there is no true knowledge without action. What would education look like if this principle were applied? Okay, so there's no praxis. There's no true knowledge without praxis. It's a unity of praxis and theory, to put it in contemporary terms. Question number 2. How might a group of Confucian scholars behave if they were to take Wang Yangming's teaching seriously? What might the results be? So what are the implications of this idea that knowledge and action are identical? Please think about this both from the point of view of a member of such a group of officials and from the point of view of an emperor. Okay, so those are the 2 study questions that we'll go over in class, and now I will read the passage on the unity of knowing and acting. So the following is recorded in Instructions for Practical Living by Wang's disciple Shu Ai. Namely Shu Ai, it's written from Shu Ai's perspective, did not understand the teacher's doctrine of the unity of knowing and acting, and debated over it back and forth with Huang Zongxiang and Gu Weiqiang without coming to any conclusion. Therefore I took the matter to the teacher. The teacher said, "Give an example and let me see." I said, "For example, there are people who know that parents should be served with filiality and elder brothers treated with respect, but they cannot put these things into practice. This shows that knowing and acting are clearly 2 different things," is the question he put to the teacher, right? He put to Wang Yangming, and Wang Yangming, the teacher, responded, "The knowing and acting you refer to are already separated by selfish desires and are no longer knowing and acting in their original substance." So in their original substance, knowing and acting are the same. "There have never been people who know but do not act. Those who are supposed to know but do not act simply do not yet know. When sages and worthies taught people about knowing and acting, it was precisely because they wanted them to restore this original substance, and not just to have them behave like that and be satisfied." Okay, this is a short worksheet this time, but it's a very important passage, an important idea, and we'll talk about the implications of Wang Yangming's idea in some more detail in class. That is all for now. Goodbye.